Two. Bro, Shavin.
Dude, the way it came up.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the GrandStand Podcast. We're back after a while. It's probably been about more than 2 months since we've been on screen. Since then, Shavin has gone through multiple breakthroughs because he is a supporter of F1 team Ferrari. Abhishek has not settled in properly in France, and I have got
fever.
Yes, fever, and I have got my exams postponed 4 times. And we've also been through fuel crisis in the country. Anyway, so that's what happened since we were gone. Let's get right into it. We are going to be reviewing the PL transfers and the PL season so far. So, Premier League supporters and fans, this one's for you.
Wait. Before we talk about it, Shavin, how are you feeling? Ferrari have been brilliant.
I don't recall what is Ferrari. I don't follow.
Jacques Leclerc has been dominating.
I don't know what this sport
Ferrari is that racing thing.
I don't follow racing.
I don't follow
baseball. Baseball. Yeah.
Baseball.
Go-karting. I usually go to the local where the go-karting.
Local one, yeah.
Go to the house, I go and watch races there.
Yeah, of course.
Less stressful to my mind. But let's stay away from F1.
Stay away from F1. We're getting
next season restarting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. And before these two go away with the show into F1 and leave me behind.
An off the grid episode.
Let's start. Let's start. So the Premier League has been up and running until the Queen passed away, and there have been no matches ever since the 9th. I don't know when. I think last Friday. So we are recording on Thursday, and so she passed away last week. There were no matches last week, and there are some matches cancelled this week. Hence, we thought it would be a good time for us to sit down and get the show running again, because we've been having so many things in between. We have just become adults, and Abhishek has become more and more anxious. Anyway.
Apparently, I don't know. I don't know what that means, but okay, fine.
Anyway. So we're going to be talking about the transfers and the PL season so far. First of all, let's talk about transfers. Let's talk about this statistic. The Premier League's combined net spend this summer was 1.36 billion euros. That is more than 480 million euros last summer. Well, there are a couple of factors to this. One is because...
That into context, I think that's close to the loan that the IMF will be giving us.
That is actually more, yeah, exactly. Shavin, our financial expert here, of course, so you can go and check out his TikToks.
His Instagram stories and TikToks.
Anyway, so there are a number of reasons for that. Where one of it being that Premier League clubs just really had money. Talking about money, I think it is good to see some of the clubs, like how they've spent, because some have spent cautiously, Liverpool FC, some have spent exorbitantly, such as Nottingham Forest, because they have gone and signed more than 18 players, some of them being Jesse Lingard and co. Boys, what do you think about signing a whole team like that? I mean, of course, if you have the money, then go ahead, but are they smart signings? Shall we?
To be honest, I haven't followed Nottingham for signings too much.
Same here.
No, of course not. Of course, like I'm not after maybe their first signing and second signing. That's it, because they've just gone and signed a whole team. But we see Nottingham Forest model, which is the general, which is basically signing a whole team, and then you have this model, which is like maybe say Manchester United in the past summer or Liverpool in the past summers. Is it going to be efficient for Nottingham Forest? I don't think so. What do you say?
Because I think personally,
yeah.
What's up?
No. You think personally?
What
do you think personally?
I think not personally. I think it's pretty popular. The reason why they probably would have signed so many players is because they're coming to the PL after how many years? I think close to 20 years, right? Isn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So for a team that has been playing in the championship for so long, okay. I mean, they must have had a pretty good side to get promoted, but it's a common story. It's a common, it's common knowledge that the championship and the Premier League are, massive difference in class, obviously. So in order to compete in the Premier League, especially when you've been playing the championship for so long, one key aspect has to be squad depth, and that has been a massive talking point in the past few seasons, especially when it comes to teams winning the Premier League. We've spoken about Man City and Liverpool and the reason why they've been successful or come close to being successful. And the reason has been their squad depth, the fact that they have at least 2 to 3 players playing in each position. So clearly for a team that has been playing in the championship for so long, I'm pretty sure they knew that they're not going to get massive results playing with the same squad in the Premier League, because it's just not possible. It's nothing against the players. Yeah. It's just that there is a difference in quality, and one key aspect has to be your squad depth. If you want to play a 38 game season, even though the championship has longer games, this is, obviously it's more physically taxing. You're talking about the most competitive league in the world. So in a situation like that, I think what Nottingham Forest did was pretty good in terms of at least getting personnel in. Whether or not they are going to be successful, that remains to be seen. But you can see where they're coming from, obviously, because if they definitely want to stay up. They don't want to go back down. So definitely you need to have personnel to play games and be successful. And they're okay so far. They've been decent, I would say. So
Nottingham.
Yeah. Haven't they had one win?
Bro,
and like a few draws?
They are 19th. They have 1 win and 1 draw, 4 losses.
Yeah, okay, but it's a team that's been promoted. Yeah, it's a team that's been promoted, and it's a new team. It's basically, you yourself said it's 18 players. They're not going to click right away. You need a full season for them to get to know each other, to understand the way they play, and to execute the tactics of the boss. So, but they have 1 win. So they know how to win. They at least have that experience of winning. And I'm guessing with time, once they get used to each other and the way they play, they could get the results needed to stay up. So in that sense, I would say that the 18 players they brought in, it was a pretty good move if they apparently had the money to do it. So yeah, no complaints there, I would say.
Yeah, so looking at some of their, looking at some of their players, they have Renan Lodi, Jesse Lingard, Union Berlin's Avonini. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Those players are good players, and to be stuck with just 1 win after 6 games is pretty concerning. I think if the manager goes on like this for 2-3 games, he could see the sack. But yes,
possibly. But
I think
possibly. But yeah, sorry.
Since you mentioned the transfer policy, comparing them with Liverpool, I think you can't really compare those 2 clubs because they are in 2 different situations, right? Because Liverpool is a team that's competing for the Premier League, and Liverpool will probably spend.
Shai, what are you? What are you on?
No, I mean they were competing for the Premier League, not anymore.
They're fighting for top 10, bro. They're fighting for top 10.
No, but I mean you can't really compare like Manchester United or Liverpool's transfer policy with Nottingham Forest, because like I think Liverpool would have spent like 70 million on Darwin Núñez, and Nottingham Forest collectively would have spent like 150 million, right, for all their players. So like so like, and Man U would have spent like 80 million on Anthony. So it's not really comparable, because they are buying much more quality players, even though maybe the volume of players is less. That net spend on each player is, it would collectively add up to that amount. So I have to agree with what Abhishek said as well, because they are obviously buying players because they feel like they need that, that step up to compete. So whereas Liverpool or United would they are buying players to maybe add quality to their team, and
Sure.
that hasn't worked for Liverpool. But they are trying to buy players to add quality or to replace.
I love how we're dissing Liverpool and not Man United. I never expected that.
I've been waiting for like 4 years.
The downfall,
5 years.
yeah, and it finally coming.
Downfall.
Yeah, praying for your downfall is crazy, especially if it's your friends who are praying for it. But yeah, some of their players actually include Morgan Gibbs-White, who was signed for £42.5 million. So they have the money. It's just that are they going to be spending such money on such players? Because no disrespect to Morgan Gibbs-White, of course, like talented player, plays in Premier League from Wolves, and he's young. But 42 million for such a player, I feel like they could have done a bit better. But moving on to the next one, which is the best transfers or like the headline transfers of the Premier League. I think the Premier League has gotten the star boy in the form of Erling Haaland. Haaland has 13 goals for Man City as we speak. It could go up, or I think it will go up in the weekend, over the weekend. But in like I think 8 games for Manchester City, he scored 13 times, which is an insane record. He could be on course to beat Mohamed Salah's a goal tally of I think 32 goals. Crazy when you see the
Luis Suarez.
lines. And
You can't forget your other. You can't forget your other
no.
star.
He beat Luis Suarez. I think
what?
he's on 30. Yeah, I think so.
Luis Suarez and Mohamed Salah the same goal tally. In fact, Suarez had less games.
Yeah, less
I'm
games.
100% sure.
So
Fine,
no. So then you're going to be looking at the likes of Thierry Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo, Alan Shearer, Luis Suarez. Those guys failed to score more than 30 goals, and then there's this guy who has scored 9 goals in his first 6 Premier League games. It's crazy. So he's one. Of course, then you have the much hated Darwin Núñez because he's a Liverpool player. But honestly,
he's not in the conversation for best transfer.
He's not hated or something. He's just not relevant.
That's joking. Yeah, not now. Because I think as a Liverpool fan, speaking as a Liverpool fan, it's been a bit underwhelming. He's played few games. He's missed a few games thanks to injury. Suspension.
Yeah.
Suspension.
Injury to the opponent or the opposition players.
Yeah, but he can easily get rattled, and he got rattled against Crystal Palace and then went off without scoring any goals. So he's completely new to the whole system. I think Haaland that way is much more mature. Haaland has a provider in the form of Kevin De Bruyne. Amazing player. Then I think we can look at Arsenal. Arsenal has signed Gabriel Jesus, which I think is a brilliant signing. He was not utilized as much as he thought he would at Manchester City. So Gabriel Jesus, Shavin?
Yeah, before I get to Jesus, I think just to talk about Haaland a bit, I think for one thing, it seems like a match made in heaven for both player and club, because they have been replaced. Like they have replaced Aguero, I think, with a striker who can now consistently, since Aguero, they haven't had a striker who can score, and Aguero was injured also towards that part of his career. So I think it's such a good match, and for Haaland, I mean, that team creates so many chances around him.
He has so many players. He has players on the left. He has the left back. He has the left wing. He has the left midfielder on this side. On the right, that team, like you said, match made in heaven. Like there's balls coming from everywhere, and he's the perfect.
Honestly.
He's like a poacher, right? He just takes chances out for fun. So look at the goal he scored yesterday in the Champions League. Just fucking ridiculous. But he's good.
I think Cancelo is he's a very underrated player. I think he's one of the best players in the Premier League, one of the best defenders in the world. He's tremendous, and having playing with guys like Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, like you're obviously gonna get so many chances. And I remember in like I think his first 2 games, he missed so many chances, like Haaland, like because they
Yeah,
create so many chances around him. So I think you have to like keep that in mind as well. He's playing on a perfect team for him. So yeah,
100%.
I think yeah, and I think it was a really good transfer for both player and club. But yeah, talking about Jesus, I think that was also really, I think once again perfect for player and for club because he was not utilized. He was not utilized the right way, I think, at City, and he didn't get the chance. But at Arsenal, he's proving an ideal player for Arteta's system. Not just in terms of scoring, but in terms of build-up play and what he does, and how he plays like off the ball. I think he's been really good. So yeah, he has like 3 goals in 6 games in the Premier League, but that doesn't really reflect how good he has been because he has honestly been tremendous since he has joined. I need to highlight one more player. It's not really a transfer, but it's a player that Arsenal actually called back from Ligue 1, and that is William Saliba.
From
He was
Marseille.
from Marseille, and he was the League One Young Player of the Season last year, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct. So I think he's come into that left centre back role, and he's been tremendous. Like so calm on the ball. His passing has been amazing. So I think he has really played a big part in this sort of rejuvenated Arsenal this season. I think that it's not really a spend, like Arsenal haven't spent on him this season, but getting him back, I think, has been like a real boost to the team for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
one thing we have to like touch on, and I think it's been brilliant from Arsenal. I mean, it has to be said. I'm not trying to curse them or anything, Shine, but you need to congratulate them, and you need to recognize what they've done in terms of how they built this team. Because when Arteta started his whole, focusing on young players policy, and his methodology of signing young players and building a young team, it wasn't very well welcomed because of where Arsenal were, and obviously he was getting criticized quite a bit, and there were people calling for his head as well in terms of getting the sack. But I think kudos to the club and kudos to himself as well for believing in that plan, because it's clearly worked out really well. I mean, the start they've had to the Premier League has been phenomenal. Yes, they had that loss to Manchester United, but other than that, but even that loss to Manchester United, they really played well, right? It was a case of people saying that they did play well, and the scoreline didn't reflect, right? United also played pretty well. So I mean, they played compact football. That's what people said, but yeah, Arsenal, the way they've turned things around from last season, actually started last season, where they started getting a good string of results, and the fact that they've continued it this season, and the fact that they're doing it with a very young team bodes well for their future, because obviously they're going to gain experience, they're going to obviously mature and grow as players. So yeah, I think Arsenal does really deserve a lot of praise, both the club for believing in Arteta's plan and Arteta himself, and the players for putting actually making into fruition the boss's plan. So well done, Arsenal. Really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think just to highlight like 2 transfers that happened last, I think it was like two transfers that happened last season that people are really questioning. One was Martin Odegaard and Aaron
Ramsdale,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I think those 2 guys have been
For sure.
amazing. Like this team is built around Odegaard now. Like Odegaard he's playing very much like that sort of the De Bruyne role that he plays for City. So and Ramsdale, I think, has been tremendous since he's joined. He's like saved so many matches for Arsenal. So you can't really question, I think, Arteta's transfer choices because like they've been spot on in my opinion. Yeah.
Definitely. You mentioned Manchester United, and Manchester United have gone on a full Dutch raid and
Of course.
gotten Ajax's coach, their defender, and their winger. And first 2 games we thought they were out. First 2 games I thought
honestly.
like they were going to first two. And then came Liverpool, and then we became the Robin Hood. We gave them 3 points. But that was all to do with Liverpool. Their play this season has been horrible. Like, less said about that, the better. But Manchester United, on the other hand, like, let's talk about their praises as well. Anthony with a dream debut, a goal, and that also two against Arsenal. I'm pretty sure Shavin watched that, so he can speak a bit about Anthony. But great stuff great business by Manchester United to get him. Then Lisandro Martinez, who's got the dog in him, not the height. But Cannavaro was 5'9" as well, and he won the Ballon d'Or.
Yes, exactly.
He's the last defender to win the Ballon d'Or in 2006. So that's great stuff. But credit where I do think, of course, season is just 6 games old, but Manchester United have done a good piece of business, and they are rejuvenating and coming across as title contenders even. Even Spurs don't rule them out. They have Richarlison, Perisic, among others. I think they've done a good piece of business as well. And Conte is doing his stuff, except maybe they should avoid these clumsy defeats. Like, for example, like day before yesterday in the Champions League against Sporting Lisbon, felt like they could have done more. But again, the season's only 6 games old in the Premier League, and just like 8 games overall in the season. There is time, and by the time we do a review episode, of course, we might say differently. But just to maybe finish up what we've been speaking about so far, Chelsea, that's a very interesting use case, because Chelsea were going after Barcelona targets and didn't end up getting any of them. So Abhishek has some joy for the first time in probably forever when it comes to Barcelona. Barcelona have been doing pretty well as well. However, their Champions League loss against Bayern Munich could have said otherwise. However,
I'm telling you guys, if you didn't watch that match, I'm telling you, we dominated Bayern for 45 minutes. We should have
take
been
the domination trophy home, bro. Like I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure your team wouldn't be able to beat Bayern. Okay,
I don't know.
Your man Mane would destroy you. Okay.
Yeah, of course. I'll admit that. But no, our focus is on Chelsea. Like Chelsea, they went for those targets. They went for Cristiano Ronaldo. They were links for Neymar. Tuchel wanted one system, and their new owner, the American Todd Bowley, wanted another system to be played.
I think the I don't know, the highlight of this transfer window was probably Kunde, because like there was news coming out that Chelsea had signed him, and then there was news coming from Spain that Barcelona had signed him. Yeah. I've never seen that before. Like in all my years of watching football, I've never.
Clearly for some reason they seem to be targeting. I mean, they seem to be targeting the same place as Barcelona, but goes to show, heritage and
of course they were very mad cool actually. Because credit to Barcelona as well. I think their management has done a good job, like pulling the lever and the plow and the whole farm, the tractors and everything. So
like I told you guys on the football group, Barcelona struggling financially and the other clubs struggling financially. There are different levels to this.
I would say you can boast about that after the camp now. Not the camp now. Now it's called the Spotify camp. I'm like, no disrespect to Spotify, but naming your, Emirates is great, but
they're the title sponsors.
Spotify, like you want to play a match at the Spotify. But anyway,
it's okay. You can say anything you want. The more you stream on Spotify, the more you'll helping fund Xavi Ball. So that's all that matters.
No, I'm going to switch to Apple Music.
If you need. No, but Chelsea's like that case is a bit strange, because their owner wanted one system and their manager wanted another, and it resulted in the manager getting the sack this early on into the season. And Tuchel has been a brilliant manager. I think that Tuchel was the reason for Chelsea's success so far in the past 2 years. No other reason, for sure. They won the Champions League. They became third last season. That's pretty good. But they did get some transfer targets. They got Koulibaly, they got Sterling, and they got someone else.
They got Aubameyang from Barca.
Cucurella and Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Aubameyang wanted to play under Tuchel. He only played 56 minutes.
1 hour.
1 hour, just like 1 hour football. But they do have their signings, so that's pretty good, pretty dope. But yeah, I think that speaks a lot. Of course, this is a very short episode. I think
short?
it's like
I feel like
it's
40 minutes.
I feel like it's 30 minutes. But yes, it's like 11:30 in the night over here. I don't know what time it is in France. Abhishek, what's right?
It's 8. It's 8.
It's 8.
But just coming back to Chelsea, I would say that it's an interesting phase for sure. I mean, that probably the reason why Thomas Tuchel got sacked is because he was not hired by I don't know what the owner of Chelsea, I don't know what his name is, but so he wasn't hired by him. He was hired by Abramovich. So clearly, if that's the risk you face when you have a change of ownership. If you don't have the same ideologies as the ownership, there's probably a good chance that you're going to be sent out the door. But yeah, it's very unfortunate for Tuchel because he, like you said, Kavinka, he's the reason why Chelsea have had success in the past 2 years. But I think they still have an interesting season coming up because they've got Graham Potter, and Graham Potter has been getting so much praise with the way he managed Brentford and the way he made them a challenging side. Sorry, Brentford, Brighton. Sorry. So yeah, the way he goes about his work is something where people are actually intrigued to see. It did start off well for him as well, but he needs to get used to his team as well. He needs to get used to his players. It's a big club. It's the first time he's managing a big club like this. So it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea go about their season this year. But like you said, they have some good players as well. They have had the.
I think there are some great players. I think in the top
actually they have a really good squad.
I think
Sterling will have
top
a good
6.
I think Sterling will have a good goal.
I think their team is the only team right now. Liverpool are struggling with depth, but I think the Chelsea team are still probably the only team that can rival City for their depth, and probably Spurs, probably. But Chelsea are the only team that can probably rival City for depth. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. They probably won't be challenging for the Premier League. They might come close. But I still think that it's City's for sure. And maybe Spurs have a chance with Conte because Conte's been there for a while. Liverpool have to wait and see whether they can turn it around. United, look, with United, I don't know what to say because United have gone on runs before with Ole as well. Like when Ole's job has come under question, they've gone on crazy runs and they played well. But it has never been sustained. And that's the problem for United. So they can go on a run right now because obviously it was a reaction for sure after those first 2 losses, which were bad. It's been a reaction and they played pretty well. But it's probably, we have to wait and see whether they can actually sustain it this time and actually, go the distance and at least come close. No one's expecting them to win. If they do, it'll be crazy. but it'll be great, but crazy. But United, I still think that they have to prove. They have to show that it's not just going to be a reaction for like a 15 games period or 17 game period, and then they're going to go back to their losing ways. So, that's what I think.
It'll be interesting to see at the end of the season what happens. But all this talk just for Manchester City to win the title. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
We like to keep it there. We'd like to keep the conversation there and head off to maybe sleep at this point. But yes, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. That was the GrandStand Podcast. Honestly, I think episode number, I honestly don't know. I didn't even say which one it was. But
we're happy to be back. We're happy to be back.
Happy to be back. And if you're watching
more
this
content soon.
Yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and share. Whoever